I wanted to create a video for you guys to help you with drawing objects and then inking them. So starting this week, well, starting today, today's Thursday, um, the 16th, you are going to create your own still life at home with the objects from the list I provided in the PowerPoint. And then I want you to create a large drawing. Um, so let's see. Our objective is to set up a still life at home with 5 or more objects. Do a large 18 by 24 inch drawing of those objects. And you can definitely draw it first with pencil and then you can ink it. So the objects have to come from the specific list that I have on Canvas, and I also have it in the PowerPoint. You're going to need a long branch with leaves. You're going to need a potted plant or a flower in a vase, or you can do both if you can find them. You're going to need a wine, soda, or beer bottle, some kind of a bottle. You don't need all 3, just one of them. And then any piece of fruit. Look for something with interesting shapes, okay? Not just something round. Even though I'm going to show you how to do it an orange and make it interesting. And then the last thing is any object of your choice, okay? So you're only going to be doing the contours, which is just the outlines. So look for objects that are interesting, okay? All right, so to begin, I picked this from my tree outside, and this is what I'm going to draw today. And what I would do before I started working is I would definitely look at what I'm drawing. And leaves are really cool to draw and easy to draw. I'm going to keep most of these, but I'm going to trim some of them. Not all of them. Maybe I'll just cut this, and I might use this somewhere else in my still life, so I'll just set it aside. Let's see what else. I don't want it to be too busy, so you can definitely take your time and sort of pick and choose the leaves you want to do from the branch that you pick. And the branch doesn't have to necessarily be have like a piece of fruit on it. This one just happens. It could just be any branch with as many leaves as you want. And I think I said the branch has to be at least 12 inches, okay? So this would probably be a little bit too short, but definitely something 12 inches. Okay, so once you have what you want, then take your time setting this all up on a table. Okay, you've seen me set up still lifes in class, so yes, take your time kind of setting it up, making it look good. And you can even have some light source. Okay, all right, so I'm just gonna go through this, okay, show you how to go from beginning to the end. So when you're drawing your objects, and you've been doing this for a while, you can use your viewfinder to try to find an interesting composition, right? Use your viewfinder. Now, if you don't have a viewfinder, that's okay too. You can just draw what you see, okay? Alright, so first thing that I'm going to do is try and draw the objects that are closest to me. And when I look at the orange and the attached to the branch, I notice that the orange is definitely closer to me. So I'm going to turn the orange into a basic shape. Okay? Alright, here's the orange. It's basically a sphere. Okay? Notice that at the bottom of the orange there is like this little part right here. I'm going to definitely put that in there somewhere so I know what this does is it helps me think about like the roundness of it. So like where the highlight's going to be and where the shadows are going to be, it just gives me like a point, an axis point. Okay. All right. So now I'm not going to draw the details. I only want the basic shapes. So I'm going to take a look at these leaves and try to turn them into just a simple shape. Okay, so something like the leaves that I'm looking at look a lot like diamond shapes or triangles or shapes. So you definitely want to do that just quickly. And then I'm also thinking about, well, if this orange is this wide, then, right, if this is this wide, then how long would the leaf that's next to it be? So I'm also taking a look at the negative spaces, because the negative spaces, the spaces that aren't the orange and the leaves, those are important too. And so I kind of like the space right here, I'm thinking about it and trying to draw it. And notice that a lot of the times when I do basic shapes, I turn everything into very geometric shapes because I think it's easier. Even though I know that this leaf shape is basically like that, I'm not going to draw that. I'm going to just stick with the geometric shape. Okay. For some reason it helps. Okay. I guess because it tells me where the corners are. Okay, so let's see, there's another leaf here. And it's okay, you guys, to go off the page. Don't try to squish a drawing onto a paper. You allow it to go off the page because it'll make for a more interesting drawing. Okay, so all I'm doing here is just sort of putting in the basic shapes for the leaves. And there's a lot of them, and it's gonna take me some time to do it, but I'm not in a rush here. I'm trying to do an accurate drawing, and that's what I'm gonna be grading. I'm gonna be grading how accurate you are here. Okay. Let's see. So, and as you go along, you'll notice when things are not lining up and things are lining up. Okay, and you can definitely erase and fix as you go. Okay, so that's what I have. I'll also indicate, here's where the light is. Even though we're only doing a contour drawing, let's also, if you have any shadows, go ahead and draw those shadows too. Okay. All right. So here's the basic drawing, and it's very simple. That's fine. What I want to do is put enough information in here before I start to ink it. Now, if you feel more comfortable putting in further details, you can definitely do that. So say for instance in this area here, I'm going to try to zoom in so you guys can see this part right here without messing with my still life too much. What I would do is draw the negative shape. This is the part that isn't the stem of the leaf. And then I would draw the stem. So I'm always looking for the easiest things to draw. And a lot of the times the easiest things to draw are the basic shape of things. right? If you can train yourself to look at objects and try to see the basic shape inside of them, you'll become better at drawing. And that just, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to develop that skill. And what's cool is the easiest way to develop your skill is to just draw all the time, okay? And I know that many of you are not art majors, and so this is probably the only time you'll ever draw, but maybe some of you out there are art majors, and learning these techniques is important to you. So I'm just going to tell you now, if you want to get good at drawing, if this is your thing, you want to be a designer, you want to be a painter, you've got to draw from observation, okay? All right, so now I'm thinking about and sometimes, all right, sometimes I can see clearly. Do you see? That's beautiful. It's very simple. And there's like a nice little cute shadow down here. You drop that shadow in and all of a sudden it looks 3D. So this orange actually isn't completely round. It's sort of bumpy and has its own characteristics here. So let's see. Sort of weird and ovally. Okay. So yes. And as I go, I'll erase the lines that are unnecessary. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. And it doesn't matter how dark my lines are. I try to keep it on the light side, but because I'm inking, I'm going to end up inking this. It doesn't matter how dark I get. Okay, so now I have to draw this little tiny leaf that's sticking out, and this is when you can do your siding. If you remember, you're going to take the measurement of like the widest part of the orange, stretching your arm out and closing one eye and taking the measurement from here to here. And so I'll do that now. Okay, so as I was saying, learning to sight and not forgetting to stretch out your hand and take a measurement, right? What you want is your eraser to be here on the object, and then close one eye and move your thumb over to wherever that is. And then once you have that measurement, then compare this measurement to the leaf. So I'm lining up my pencil over here, and I can see that it's a little bit more than half the size. So if this is the whole size, this is half. The leaf should only be about that big. So I can lay my pencil down here and notice that I'm pretty accurate. That is as big as that leaf should be. Okay, so don't stop. Don't stop sighting and measuring. Okay, because if you keep practicing, of course you're gonna get really good at it. Okay, so all I'm doing now is just carefully putting in all the leaves I see, trying to be a little more accurate with my drawing. And I think a lot of times we get so busy or we get frustrated and we want to just hurry up and finish the assignments. I can tell when you rush, right? I've been drawing long enough to know when somebody's really taking their time and drawing. And so I want you to take your time and draw. Try to draw what you see, okay? And I noticed that you could see the inner line of the leaf, so that's why I'm putting that in there, okay? So yeah, just go ahead and take your time and think about, so like this leaf doesn't fit on my paper, like the pointy part of it. So I have to think about where the end of this lines up. Like if I drew, remember the plumb lines that we draw? So if I draw a plumb line or just a line that goes down, what would line up with this on this leaf? What would line up right to this point here? And I can see that it's the curved part, it's the largest, like widest part of the leaf. So then I know where I am on the leaf. See? So then I can draw that. Okay. And then I think about, okay, if this is here, then what is around it? So you're always looking for relationships. Like if this is here, then what's next to it? How far is it? So from here, and sometimes you have to close one eye to see. There's a little bit of space, and then there's another leaf happening right there. And then if you're starting to get confused, of course you can begin to erase and clean up. This is called cleaning up. Start to clean up your drawing, you know. Okay, so keep going here. Yes. Okay. Good. Right. Try not to edit though. If it's in front of you, then draw it. And don't work from a photograph. I can pretty much tell. What happens when you work from a photograph is your drawing becomes very stiff. You lose the life in your objects. Some people are really good at drawing from photographs. They prefer it. But it's not going to make you better at drawing. It just won't. Okay? You got to draw from real objects. Right here, I can already tell I made this too big because these don't fit, and they should. Okay. So don't be afraid to erase it. Erase it all if it's not done right. Okay, I made this way too big. It needs to be much smaller. It needs to be that big because there has to be room. Okay. Never afraid to start again, and I'm never afraid to erase it all. Okay. All right. So there we go. Here's basically the drawing, and now I'm going to start to ink this thing. And I'm starting with the brand new pen that I bought. I bought this on Amazon. It's called Skylist, and it came with a couple of different little nibs, different sizes, but I'm just gonna stick with that one because that one's pretty basic. Okay, notice how big it is. You don't want anything smaller. Right here's my nail. You can see you don't want anything too small. If it's too small, you're gonna be here forever. Like you don't want to work with the crow quill. This is just way too tiny. Maybe if I had some thin like veins, I'll switch to this guy, but I don't. I'm gonna pretty much stick with that one for the whole time. Okay, so here we go. Inking is easy. It's the drawing part that takes forever, right? But there's still some things you should know about inking. Dip the pen into the ink and always clean it off. Okay, you don't want any drips. Hold the pen like this. Okay, this is upside down. This is not going to work. You have to turn it this way so it's curved. Okay? And I always kind of practice a couple of lines, get the ink flowing before I commit to what's happening here. Because once it's down, right? Okay, so let's outline. All right. So I'm starting on the darker side, right? And this side is going to be my darker side. So I'm going to go slower and let the pen release more ink. Okay. And then when I get here, all right, just kind of try to, I'm always thinking about like where I'm going, right? Where the move is. And I'm not trying to draw it all in one. Kind of take it little bits at a time. Okay. All right. That looks good. Let's put in that little part there. Okay. Just take your time, ink it, make it look good. Oop. Okay. So this gives me a pretty heavy line, I can see. If I go fast, I can make a thin line, but you have to be really confident to do that, right? Oh, what I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna switch to something that's a little bit thinner. I feel like this one is good for my thick lines, but I think I'm going to need something a little smaller. So let's switch. Now, if you don't have anything smaller, if you don't even have a pen, you can definitely, if you have the ink but you don't have the pen, you can use a skewer or a toothpick. That'll work. Okay. If you don't have any ink, I don't know. I guess you can boil a cup of like some coffee and try to do it with some coffee. I don't know. I was trying to think of a different way to do it with ink, but I don't know. It's kind of hard. I guess if you have some Sharpies, if you can't do it with ink, I guess you can just outline it with Sharpie, but I really don't want you to do that. So notice that the ink isn't flowing as well on this pen nib. Okay, there we go. It just takes some time, I think, to make it happen. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm still looking at my object because the object in front of me is going to tell me like where I need to be thin and where I need to be thick. So, and now that I'm inking, I can actually try to create like the texture of the edges that I see. Like some edges are very smooth while other edges are really sort of wrinkly. So I can do that with my pen. Okay. And that's pretty much it. I don't want you to shade this. I want you to take your time and try and draw what you see. Okay, so the orange, pretty boring object to draw, but it does have some bumps, and you can definitely indicate those bumps if you want to make something as boring as an orange interesting. Okay, you can see how that looks a little more interesting. So it's pretty good. Okay, you can indicate the shadow if you want. I mean, it's not really that important if you indicate the shadow, but if you want, you could do that, right? There's some pretty nice shadows here. Okay. Good luck.